Good morning and welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. I am your guest host this morning, Shannon Wilkerson, sitting in for Moon Griffon. Where is Moon today? Do you know?
So Moon is, surprise, surprise, he's out fishing.
Fishing?
Yes.
With all this juicy stuff going on, he's out fishing. But I tell you, I can't blame him. The weather is so wonderful. Everybody who's fishing, who likes to do anything outdoors, has been waiting for this fall weather. Well, Thank God it's here.
Well, and you say all that's going on. That's probably part of the reason why he's doing it. Got to get away a little bit, with all the craziness of the third debate and day in, day out. I'm sure Moon needed a break.
Good Lord. Now, I'm going to ask a stupid question. Obviously, you watched the debate.
Yes, I did.
What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I thought that Trump did a good job of, as opposed to the first two debates, not taking the bait with Hillary Clinton as much. There were a few times where he did come back and make some comments towards her, but I think the way the national media is grasping at the whole election comment that he made means that he didn't make any major gaffes in the debate for them to come at him.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, that was the only thing really that I saw where he kind of stepped in it.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated. I was actually screaming at the television when it happened, hoping he would hear me, because, that's what you do.
Of course.
And what I think where he really messed up with that, he made a good point, but he didn't go far enough with it and explain his position until the next day.
Yeah.
Okay, what he should have said was, if there is a clear winner, I'll accept it and support it.
Right.
But if there are questionable issues, extenuating circumstances, of course I'm going to question that and wait for the legal process to take place. And then whatever the legal process results are, then I'll support that.
Yeah.
And he could have used the Florida situation as a perfect example. He could have said, look, the Democrats did this, and rightfully so. It was a suspicious situation that went down in Florida in, 2000? And, of course, Al Gore said, no, I'm not going to accept this until we find out what the results are. No different, because, he could have also pointed out, listen, we already have suspicion and evidence of some kind of voter fraud that has taken place already.
Right.
And there was the whole issue with Bernie Sanders, between Hillary and Bernie Sanders, and how the DNC was involved with that and issues. So the problem that I think that he was faced with is the fact that he didn't go far enough and explain himself. And so, I don't know, that was a little frustrating for me to watch.
And to speak to that, another part of that conversation has come out talking about, that transfer of power and this insinuation about if Donald Trump makes a big deal about whether the elections are rigged, if the results favor Hillary Clinton, that somehow the transfer of power question has come to him in a negative light. Well, for one thing, he's not actually president right now.
He doesn't have the power.
Not like when Bill Clinton was the president and was supposed to transfer the power to George W. Bush, but according to many reports that have come out, that transfer of power was hindered, so we say, as Al Gore fought it in courts.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And, I don't know how they come up with that, the transfer of power, and I don't know. I'll tell you, I've watched this from the beginning, long before the beginning. I don't know if you recall. I'm sure you do. But a few years ago, my brother Gary and I hosted this show, For Moon One Day. And we were talking about the possibility of a Clinton-Trump
I remember.
And it was a joke.
Yeah.
It was this big, ridiculous idea. It was like, oh, God, wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't it? And we started talking about how the debates could be actually on pay-per-view.
Yes.
And all of that. Well, here we are. Okay. It has come to that. I think that the whole thing is a disaster. I really do. I think that it's a total disaster. It's embarrassing. I think that it's a sorry reflection of who we have become as a society, politically, socially, and morally.
I think it's unfortunate for Trump that there aren't more debates, though, because I think like he saved his best debate performance for last, and now he's Donald Trump. Maybe he would have said something in the meantime to mess it up anyway, but he saved his best one for last. And I even saw the Washington Post yesterday, not the Washington Times, the Washington Post come out and declare Donald Trump the winner.
Of the debate.
Of the debate.
Yeah.
Of the debate on, what was it, Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, I thought that he was the winner, but he was barely the winner. Okay, he didn't dominate.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. But if you look at all three debates and you take in the whole picture into consideration, he actually did very, very well because he's never done it before.
Right.
Okay, how many times has she done it? You know,
lifetime.
I mean, she should have just rolled all over him, you know, and, excuse me, she wasn't able to. And, you know, the hypocrisy, all of it, I just find disturbing on such a huge level, you know, for Hillary Clinton. And I try to look at it in the middle. I really do. I'm a Republican. I've always been a Republican. But as you know, I've always been in the bar and nightclub business.
Right.
And being in the bar and nightclub, I have always catered to the demographic of the college student, 18 to 25.
Yes.
Okay, so I employ and I cater to that demographic my whole career.
Right.
Okay, so I'm exposed to that younger generation and their opinions and their desires and all of that. And I just think that it's a mess.
Yeah.
Overall, I just think that the whole thing is a mess, and sometimes it just leaves you speechless. It's like, what are we doing? You know, I'll share something with you. A very good friend of mine, lifelong friend, politically very, very knowledgeable and experienced and smart, has told me. Now I'm going to offend everybody now. Okay, I'm just letting y'all know. I'm going to offend Democrats and Republicans. So let me apologize for that on the front end. This friend of mine has told me for years, Democrats are evil and Republicans are stupid. And nothing is a better illustration of that than this election. Because if you look at it, it's like, you know, if you are a Republican, even if you are a hard-driving Trump supporter, you have got to acknowledge and see that this election should be a slam dunk for the Republicans. It shouldn't even be close when you look at the condition of our country in every aspect. Okay, financially, socially. I mean, we are more divided than we have been since the 60s, you know, on every level. Plus, you've got the Supreme Court, you know, issue to consider. And so the Republicans should be dominating this. It shouldn't even be close when you consider the history of Hillary Clinton. I mean, nobody likes her. Okay, she's so terribly unlikable and untrustworthy and I mean, she's a typical politician.
Right.
And so I think that nothing illustrates that comment more than this election.
I think Trump supporters are going to agree with you wholeheartedly. You're not going to offend them in this instance because when you say Republicans are stupid, Republicans have been turning on Donald Trump all throughout this thing. You know, many Republicans have actually come out and said that they will either not vote for Trump or they'll vote for Hillary. So you've got someone in Trump who has the R behind their name, who won the Republican presidential nomination, and all of these Republicans are doing everything they can to sabotage the election.
That's because they want to save their own seat. Okay, they don't. And you know the sad thing about it is that let's just say Trump wins. Okay, I don't think he's going to win. I really don't. And a lot of my friends are angry with me for saying that, but that is my opinion. I just don't see him winning this. If he won, I don't think he'd get anything done. I think the Republicans would distance themselves from him. Every senator, every congressman, every Republican in Washington would distance themselves from him so aggressively because they want to get reelected. And so it's sad. It's sad when you look at that. It's like, well, that's what the people voted for. Okay, this is the person that the people voted for as the nominee. And so as a party, the Republican Party should back him accordingly.
What's potentially ironic about that is, does that mean then if Trump became president, he'd have to do more things through executive order, which is something he had to go against President Obama on?
That's right.
Because of the non-participation of Congress.
I think it would be like that. And unfortunately, I think that is what brings us to the most significant part of this election, in my opinion, and that's the Supreme Court. And the reason that I believe that, and most people that follow these issues believe it, is because our government is so divided. Okay, there is no gray area anymore. There's no crossing the aisle. There's no getting along, and so you can expect that all of the big issues will eventually end up in the Supreme Court because they can't get anything done together. So it'll be done. Every major issue will be presented as executive order. Then there's going to be a lawsuit against it, and the Supreme Court's going to be the ultimate decider.
Gotta take a break.
Okay, let's take a break. Listen to the cool music. Hello and welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. I am your guest host for the day, Shannon Wilkerson, sitting in for Moon Griffon. Of course, I'm joined by fine gentleman across the way over there, Brandon. Hey. How are you today?
I'm good.
We have been talking about, obviously, the debate and the situation with the presidential election coming up, which is soon. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to believe that it's going to be it's just a few weeks away.
Yeah, about 19 days away, November the 8th, although for me it'll come a little bit sooner because I'm going to early vote. I love early voting. Now, this will be my first presidential election that I early vote for, which I'll be honest, it'll make me miss a little bit because there's something special about voting on Election Day when it has to do with the presidential race.
Sure.
There's a certain kind of feel in the air about it. At the same time, I've just come to love early voting over the last 3 years, and I'm going to do it this year.
Well, it's so much more convenient.
Yes.
My only problem with early voting is that is people knowing the results. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they should do that. All the early voting should be kept under wraps until after, because people use that in the campaign, and I don't think I've just never been comfortable with that.
Right.
I think that it influences people, and I just don't. If you're going to vote early, it should remain a private vote, and the results should not be made public. Anyway, we're going to move on. If you're good with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Al Smith dinner last night. Okay. By the way, if any of the listeners want to call in, join in the conversation, please join us at the Hickson Has It hotline. That's 1-844-7-MOON-07. That's 7666607. Now, did you watch any of the highlights from the Al Smith dinner?
Just a little bit. Of course, his line about bumping into Hillary and then she said, "Pardon me," that was pretty good. But
yeah,
I just watched like bits and pieces of it and saw some of the crowd's reaction, and some of these people, just come on now. Well,
I tell you, I don't like those dinners where they get up there and try to be funny and they don't want to, or they get these jokes. They hire comedians to make jokes for them, and there's just something that's always very uncomfortable about that to me. We watched the highlights. I didn't watch the dinner last night, but I watched the highlights late last night, and I'm telling you, what is dominating the internet this morning is not so much Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, but Maria Bartiromo. Okay, I don't know if you saw this, okay, but if you're watching the screen, Maria Bartiromo is obviously the woman to the left and up a little bit from Hillary and Trump when they were at the podium. And I'll tell you, it was really a sight. It didn't look like anything that I was expecting. So I don't know if anybody else got to see that, but Maria is a anchor for Fox News, and she had on a dress that, let's just say, it was very, very revealing, and it showed off a lot of her, we'll call them assets, okay? But, I mean, it was so incredibly revealing. I mean, this was such a low-cut dress, you know. And now, do we have a caller?
Yes, we do. We can
and
go,
who's joining us now?
This is Jay from Lafayette. Wants to talk about, the current conversation more about Donald Trump and what we were talking about with him compared to Hillary Clinton and the Republicans.
Hello, Jay.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I guess I'm more Republican, obviously, but I'm more conservative than I am Republican. And, I've watched the debate. I've watched the banquet thing last night. And there's some things that Donald said that kind of made me cringe. But at the same time, we've put up with so much stuff over the last 8 years, over the last 20 years. And this is the first time we have someone that's basically saying out loud what many of us have said under our breath for all these years. And, so that's just a comment I have to make. Yeah, he says some things that are cringeworthy in those settings, but at the same time, man, we've been dumped on and dumped on and dumped on, and these WikiLeaks are really exposing what we've known all the time. And, so it's just so frustrating. And, anyway.
I feel your pain. And I think that something that Democrats and Republicans, whether you're extremely conservative or very liberal, I think that one thing that everybody can agree on is that it is so messy in Washington. I mean, you can't, and you're right. You're absolutely right. We have been dumped on and lied to and misled on every different level. And clearly that is why, in my opinion, Donald Trump even got the nomination. And it's because he spoke up and said the things that everybody has been thinking all these years. And the other Republicans that were running for the nomination up against him, the other candidates rather, have never been able to do that because they are politicians. And
correct.
And so they're part of it. And so if they lose their career if they speak the truth. And that's what has that's what has been so appealing to the regular public about Donald Trump is that he doesn't owe anybody any favors. He doesn't owe anybody any allegiance. And anyway, thanks for calling. We'll be right back. We're going to take a short break, and we'll continue our conversation on the Moon Griffon Show. Good morning, and welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. I am your host your guest host for the morning, Shannon Wilkerson, sitting in for Moon. He's enjoying a nice day outside in the weather. Mm-hmm. Beautiful fall weather in Acadiana today. I've been waiting for it. It's been not as hot, but still hot.
Yeah, it's nice to have the cool front end. We got high school football tonight. Mm-hmm. Can't wait to get out to the stadium in this amazing weather.
Yeah, LSU tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a great game to go to. It's a night game.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be down in the upper 40s. Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
What you think about their chances tomorrow night? Ole Miss, big top 25 matchup. You get them at Tiger Stadium. Ole Miss can throw the football a little bit, though. Mm-hmm. I think they'll test LSU for the first time with the passing game.
I agree. I think it's going to be their first real test since Les Miles has been let go.
Yeah.
I give LSU the edge.
Okay.
What about you?
I like them too, mainly because they're at home. If they're on the road, I really do believe that's the difference in this matchup is the home.
I agree. I think if they were at Ole Miss, I'd give Ole Miss the edge.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. Ed Orgeron used to be the head coach at Ole Miss, so there's some familiarity there as well. How much of a factor is that going to play?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good question. Okay, now we've got a caller who's been waiting on. Melissa from Monroe has been waiting patiently. We appreciate that. Good morning, Melissa. What's on your mind?
Well, I just want to share that, I know you kind of made a prediction that Donald Trump may not win the election. I think that people are really underestimating people that have to be silent either because they work in very sensitive places or it's kind of interesting. I work for a nonprofit agency. We rely on donors from a mass of people. I have to be totally silent in any kind of political matters. There are a lot of people that are like me that are Trump supporters, and because how controversial this political race has been, we've got to be quiet because we'll be painted racist, or we'll be. And I am as far.
Are you there?
Yes,
Melissa?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we lost you. I agree completely with you, and I've experienced that myself. I think that you're right. I'm not sure how much of a difference it's going to make in the actual election, but I do know that there are many, many supporters of Donald Trump who are closet supporters. They will not come out and say it publicly because of their workplace environment, because of Facebook, because of Twitter. I'll give you an example of my own personal experience with something similar to this. I used to post on Facebook harmless comments about the president, and I'll tell you what it was. Whenever the president was giving a speech, he was on television, he was giving the State of the Union, I used to go on Facebook, and I would just make light fun of the president, and I would say, okay, here's what the president, anybody who missed the State of the Union address last night, here's what the president said. And I would put 2 or 3 paragraphs of blah, 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 blah. Well, I own a business here in Lafayette, and after doing that a handful of times, I had my manager approach me, and he said, listen, you've got to stop doing that. We've got customers that are refusing to come in, and they're so easily offended. And this was just a harmless thing. It wasn't even me attacking President Obama, and I even did it when Bush was in office. It was just something that I did just to be silly. But you're absolutely right. When you come out and support a candidate now, especially a candidate as controversial as Donald Trump has been, you really put yourself at risk of being attacked. And with the internet now and Facebook and Twitter, the risk level is excelled that much, because all it takes is somebody to start making comments about you. They go to your Facebook page and they attack you for what you said in support of Donald Trump. And then all those other people just start, and it just snowballs from there. Yeah. I have a very good friend of mine who's very smart, very politically savvy. He is completely convinced that Trump will not only win, he will win in a landslide because of the exact same scenario that you just described.
Well, I think that I do want to say, too, that this political race has been, especially with liberal media, has been very divisive. They have keyed in on things that have assured that Trump looks, racist and all of these things. And I was one person who was absolutely 100% not offended by the third debate. I thought he would be crazy to say that he would accept. That to me, when you have the information that the DNC is rigging things, that they are rigging and paying for violent outbursts at the rallies, that you've got key officials in the DNC that are getting the speeches in advance and of course, what idiot would say, I'll just accept it.
I agree. I agree completely, and I just think that where he made the mistake is not giving the information that you just shared.
But
he should have backed it up. Go ahead.
He's smarter than us. That's the thing. Because what happened during the next debate, he knew what he was doing. You hear him refer to Hillary Clinton as being outplayed over and over and over again. If you think for a second that he didn't make that controversial statement intentionally, all eyes were on his first press conference. This man is very, very smart. I don't think for a second he should have added anything else. All eyes were on him for the entire night. All eyes were on him. For the next day, all eyes were on him. The media covered the full press conference. He is much smarter.
Well, you make a very good point. He has definitely put himself in the spotlight from the beginning, even if it's bad. And it's kind of one of those arguments a lot of people make. It's like, well, publicity is publicity, and it's good to have publicity even if it's bad publicity. We've got another caller waiting, Melissa. I appreciate you joining us this morning. Good morning, Ralph. How are you?
I am absolutely wonderful. Enjoying the show this morning. I was going to talk about something that people are, and especially the media, is not bringing up. Roughly 25% of the people that vote in our country are Catholics. It's a big, large demographic area, and usually it's split down the middle, 50-50. Can you hear me?
Oh, absolutely. Please continue.
Okay, I was getting some feedback from you.
No, sir, I got you.
Okay, the church in a lot of areas, a lot of the bishops and so forth have finally come out, since Hillary is pro-abortion. The murder in our religion is the murder of innocent children.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people say, well, it's a woman's right to choose, but nobody thinks about the little woman and the baby fighting for life that they're destroying.
Okay.
Over half of them are female. But the church is coming out. They won't tell you to vote for anybody, but they're telling you that there's one party, there's one person running that is totally pro-abortion, and it's against the teaching of our church.
Mm-hmm.
And that you will not be in good standing with the church if you vote for this party or this person. And,
I can relate to what you're saying. It's similar to some conversations that I've had in the recent past regarding the election and the Catholic Church, and the conversation that exists about there's a movement in the DNC to withhold the Catholic Church's ability to be a nonprofit. They want the Catholic Church to start paying taxes. Now, let me give you my opinion about this. There are Democrats that will scream and yell that they want the Catholic Church to have to pay taxes. That will never happen. And the reason it won't happen is because the Democrats will not allow that to happen. And the reason the Democrats will not allow that to happen is because once you take away that privilege, that nonprofit privilege that the Catholic Church has, then they can endorse a candidate. See, Catholic Church, they cannot come out and endorse a candidate and continue to get their tax exemption. And so I hear what you're saying, and the Catholic Church is now kind of sort of implying an endorsement, but it's not an official endorsement. What I found very disturbing, not very disturbing, but it bothered me, and it's the typical hypocrisy of all of our politicians, is that we've got these emails from Hillary Clinton and her staff regarding the Catholic Church. And then Hillary Clinton is, whether you're pro-abortion or pro-life, Hillary Clinton makes her position clear in the third debate that she supports a woman's right to choose, even in late-term abortions. Okay. But then she goes to the Al Smith Catholic Charities dinner last night and sits, right next to New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan. And the whole thing just doesn't sit well with me, or I would imagine anybody else who's informed about it.
I think that you're missing something here altogether.
Okay.
The religious views, especially the Catholic Church, is that we want to save all sinners.
Oh, I'm with you. I was raised Catholic. My whole family's Catholic.
And we look at her as a total sinner. The church, like I said, they vote, the parishioners vote 50-50. Half Republican, half Democrat, per se. The largest Democratic voting group that votes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you that the church will not come out and say, vote for this person, that vote.
No, they
They're
can't.
Just telling you.
No, Ralph, right. they can't say that. They cannot officially endorse a candidate being in a tax exempt situation. They can't do that. They will lose their nonprofit identity And so they cannot officially endorse somebody. But I hear what you're saying. They're starting to kind of imply it, but they cannot say that the Catholic Church endorses Donald Trump and do not vote for Hillary Clinton. But I want you to have a good weekend. I appreciate your opinion. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back from the Moon Griffon Show. Good morning, and welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. I am your guest host this morning, Shannon Wilkerson. We have been talking, obviously, about Hillary, Donald Trump, the Al Smith dinner, all the fun stuff that's going on that makes us so proud to be Americans. If you want to join in the conversation, please join us at the Hickson Has It hotline. That's 1-844-7-MOON-07. And we've got Stacy, who's been patiently waiting. And so we're going to join Stacy.
Well, not anymore.
Stacy her patience ran out. No more. Okay, Stacy, call back. But now we can talk to James from New Iberia. Good morning, James. What's on your mind?
Hi, good morning. Listen, after the debate, I heard a lot of the media talking heads saying that what Trump said about the election possibly being rigged.
Yes.
You know, they were saying that it's against the democracy of the United States for him to insinuate that, and it's against the tradition of the United States. That's complete hogwash. I mean, look at what happened in the year 2000 with Bush and Gore, and even Hillary Clinton came out and said George Bush was not elected but selected. You don't hear the media pointing that out. And with all the corruption from Hillary Clinton and the Democrats that we've seen so far, like with regards to Bernie Sanders and all the email scandal and that other thing where they were inciting violence at Trump rallies and all the other stuff, you know, the Department of Justice being corrupt, meeting with her husband, the FBI and Obama's corruption.
The list goes on and on. I'm with you completely, James. And you know, it's kind of one of those things, even if you are a supporter of Hillary Clinton, and you are a diehard lifetime Democrat, you've got to be able to see that what the whole list of what you just shared with us, you've got to be able to see that there's something significantly wrong with that. And what, in my opinion, is that since the media is so incredibly biased, Democrats can basically do whatever they want. I mean, if this election doesn't illustrate that with the corruption that has been brought to the forefront, that you made the list that you gave us is absolutely spot on. When you look at all of those things, if you just took one or two of those things and a Republican candidate had done that, they would just be rolled over by every major media outlet. But they just don't talk about it when it comes to Hillary. And even if you're a Democrat, I think that is very, very dangerous.
And let me tell you this. I have a feeling that even if the American people were to vote for Donald Trump, that in a particular state, if the people voted in that state for Donald Trump, the delegates, the electoral vote, those individuals may very well vote for Hillary Clinton. I just think that it's very corrupt what could happen, or you could have a state where it's very close and the Democrats will contest that state, and that state might hold, just like Florida in 2000.
Sure.
But it won't go to the Supreme Court because they're evenly divided. It'll stop at the appellate court, and all of the appellate court judges are liberal. They're going to side with Hillary Clinton.
It's a disaster, and I agree with you, James. Thanks for joining us this morning. Stacy from Lafayette. Hey, are you the same Stacy that was holding on a minute ago?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I appreciate you calling back because I appreciate you calling back. When I saw that you hung up, I was like, oh man, this poor lady's been waiting, and we didn't get to her fast enough, and so I'm glad you called back. How are you today?
Oh no, that wasn't it. It was the phone started playing some funny music, so I knew something was wrong. So
okay.
Anyway. So first of all, I have to agree with Melissa in the fact that, you know, I don't think Trump should have said anything different. Now, everybody's in all this hoopla over the voter cheating, and the guy from Louisiana, I can't remember his name, saying, oh, well, it's just foolish for Trump to say, the ballots are rigged. This is how they're rigged. This is what people aren't getting. They may not be rigged electronically, but they're rigged in the fact that you are allowing people to vote without a driver's license. And let me tell you something. My son just had to go get a passport. He's 17 years old. Not only did he have to present his driver's license, but I had to present mine and his birth certificate. When I go to the bank, I have to present my driver's license to access my own money. It's not racial. It's not prejudice. It's just you have to say, this is me. I don't want somebody going to the voting registration area and saying, I'm Stacy, and sign for my name. And then whenever I get to go vote, somebody already took my vote.
Yeah, well, that very well could happen. I never have understood.
That's what they keep saying. Oh, it's the computers. No, it's not the computers. It's the individual people.
Well, I think you made some very strong points, and I agree with all of them. I don't know. It baffles me that any individual, any news organization would be opposed to a simple identification when you go to vote. I just don't see how you can justify opposing that. I just don't.
The kids to get into a football game have to show their ID.
Oh, you got to show your ID for everything. I mean.
It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal. That's exactly right. It's not that big of a deal. But what I have seen is that when people oppose those kind of things, they're just looking for reasons.
They're up to no good.
They're up to no good, or they're just looking for something to fight about.
Yeah.
Now, it's just they say, well, if your state requires voter ID to vote, then you're racist. It's ridiculous. I don't see how anybody can justify that.
Now, my question about the delegates is I've always been a little confused about the whole electoral college thing, but I was under the impression that the electoral college has to vote according to the popular vote. So if the popular vote is for one candidate, the electoral college should represent that as well. They can't just completely, if the whole state of Louisiana popular vote is the majority Trump, they can't just turn around and say, oh, well, we're going to do Hillary, and then our vote counts more than popular. Am I wrong?
It's a good question.
No, I mean, if the population... go ahead.
They have to vote what the population presents. Mm-hmm. What the population vote is, then that's what they have to do.
Don't get it confused with the primaries.
That's the difference. That's right.
The difference in the delegates.
That's right. They can play games like that at the convention, but not with the vote. Thanks for joining us. Continue in the second hour on the Moon Griffon Show. Good morning and welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. I'm your guest host, Shannon Wilkerson, sitting in for Moon. And I have to pay Moon a compliment every time I have the privilege of coming over here. He's got a great selection of music. When you come in and out of every break, he's got a good selection of music. I don't know who picked those songs out for him, but whoever did a great job. Anyway, we're talking about all the political issues going on today in the news. There's so many of them. And we've got a gentleman, Shoe Pick, that's been holding on from Farmerville. Good morning, Shoe Pick.
Hey, how y'all guys doing?
Very well. Beautiful weather.
Yeah, you have to laugh at these Senate commercials, especially Kennedy's. He talks about how nobody's salaries have gone up, and he's making, an 8-figure salary, and they vote themselves raises all the time. I have to laugh at that. And as far as the weed killer, I'd love to see him drink it and put it on YouTube.
Pardon me?
Well, he's referencing the comment of John Kennedy has said that he'd rather drink weed killer.
Oh, right, right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, politicians, I'm telling you, the problem that we have, in my opinion, locally, statewide, nationally, is that we keep electing lawyers. Now,
right.
I'm friends with a lot of lawyers, okay? Now, I know I'm probably going to be, as soon as I walk out of the station this morning, there's going to be somebody waiting for me with a subpoena, okay? But lawyers, lawyers, we keep electing lawyers, and lawyers are not trained to solve problems. Being a businessman my whole adult life, lawyers are trained to find problems. You know, that's what they're trained to do, and they are trained to win, you know, in conflict. They are not trained to work out issues. And, you know, we keep electing these lawyers, and then what happens? They find ways to vote themselves a raise. You know, that's one of the things that you mentioned. I mean, think about what do you do, Shupik, what do you do for a living? Or if you're retired, what did you used to do?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm a plumber.
Well, there you go. What if you had an unlimited source of income and you could vote yourself a raise anytime you wanted?
I'd have it made.
Well, damn right you'd have it made. And so that's why these guys have it made. And so,
that's why I'm going to give Colonel Rob Maness a chance. The Colonel, I think he's not the only one we can have a hope of, like that earlier caller said. I'm going to vote for Maness.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning, and keep listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We've got Jason holding on from Shreveport. How are you this morning, Jason?
I'm just fine, Shane. I want to talk about the political roast that they had last night and how Hillary was discussing Trump's attempt to, you know, villainize women. He rates them between a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and all this kind of stuff. But if you noticed at the political roast, Trump was there with his wife, Melania.
Yeah.
But Hillary Clinton was there without her husband, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. You're absolutely right. Where was Bill?
Where was Bill? Exactly. What she's trying to do is take Bill Clinton out of the campaign because he's bringing on so much attention for his sexual predator.
Well, you know, I tell you, Bill's not looking so good. You know, no. Bill's not looking so good. I think he's so incredibly thin, and he has aged terribly. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We were missing Bill last night. It's too bad he wasn't there. He would have been a great target.
When you look at how Bill Clinton looks today compared to how he looked when he was president, that's an indication of what Hillary Clinton's going to do to the country.
Well,
if she wins the presidency, she's going to turn the country into exactly what Bill Clinton looks like. But then when you think about where was Bill Clinton, was he with his lover, the Energizer?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. But I tell you, when I do believe, and I'm not supportive of this, I do believe that Hillary is going to win the election. And I think that when she gets back into the White House, that Bill is going to go absolutely crazy. They are going to have, I just have this anticipation. I expect that he's going to get into so much trouble because now he's going to have Air Force One. He's going to be in the White House, but he's not going to be on the spotlight as the president anymore. And so he's going to he is going to just have a blast, you know, and he's going to keep getting caught, and it's not going to make any difference because they can't impeach him.
No, they can't impeach him, and he'll have plenty of interns there at the White House to abuse, and Hillary Clinton will be sitting at the same desk that Monica Lewinsky was underneath.
Ooh. Well, thanks for calling this morning, Jason. Thanks for calling. Wesley from Lafayette, good morning. How are you?
I'm all right, and you? I just wanted to real briefly mention about Bruce Sterling talking about I heard his ad talking about accountability and everything. He might be accountable for his job and his doctor profession, but when it comes to representing us, not so much so, because if you look at his voting record, look up on Conservative Review how they rate him. I think it's 52% failing. He's got an F grade by them. He's all about voting for whatever the rhinos want him to vote for. I mean, higher budgets, he'll vote whatever budget they want. I mean, he just goes along with whatever they want him to do. He don't care about what we want him to do. So I just wanted to say that we need to really take a look at him, and I think we have a lot better options than putting him in office again.
Okay, thanks for calling. I appreciate the input. Now, I want to share some thoughts with you. We've got a moment here in between callers. We've got a few callers holding on. Y'all just hang tight a minute. And you know what? You should have given me a notice. You snuck up on me with that.
I was about to say,
y'all stay tuned, okay? Hold that thought. When we come back from this break, I'll tell you what's on my mind. Good morning and welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. I am your guest host, Shannon Wilkerson, sitting in for Moon Griffon, who's off today enjoying the beautiful weather. The first nice day of fall is upon us, and it feels so good outside. It's really a nice break.
It's in the 60s right now.
I know.
Man, awesome.
It's just fantastic. Anyway, before the last break, before I was so rudely interrupted by Brandon over there, sneaking up on me, I wanted to share with you an opinion that I have about Republicans and Democrats. Now, what I see, the difference between Republicans and Democrats, the good and bad about both of them is the same thing for each. Now, hear me out on this. Democrats will never break ranks. It doesn't matter what a Democrat does. Other Democrats will never hold them accountable or throw them under the bus. Now, what they do and argue and scream about behind closed doors, we don't know. But I'll give you a perfect example. Bill Clinton looked right into that camera and said, I never did anything with that girl. Okay, one of the previous callers brought up Monica Lewinsky. I won't repeat what he said. But even after something as blatant as that, and him lying under oath, and I know this is a while back, it's just an example of what I'm talking about. Democrats always stick together, no matter what. The bad side of that is that they don't hold each other accountable. They are never held accountable by each other. Also, Democrats always pick a candidate that has the best chance of winning. They don't care if that's the best person for the job. They don't care if that's the best person for the issues at hand. They will pick a candidate that always has the best chance winning. Republicans, on the other side, are constantly at odds with each other because they're constantly holding each other accountable. They're always throwing each other under the bus. Now, that obviously sends a message to everybody that Republicans can't get along. The Republican Party is broken, and that it's all going down. It's spiraling out of control for years. The upside to that is that Republicans do hold each other accountable. When it comes to elections, on the other hand, Republicans have a tendency of choosing, and what I mean by Republicans, I don't just necessarily mean Republican voters, I mean Republicans elected officials and who they back in elections. They always seem to choose a candidate that they either like or that they think is going to be the best person for the job. The problem with the difference between that is that Republicans always bring forth a candidate that they think is the best for the job. Democrats always bring forth a candidate who has the best chance of winning. I don't know which is better. I guess it depends on whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat, because both can argue that their side, their position in those issues is the best to have. What?
I think another thing, too, that with Republicans and Democrats, to further illustrate your point, Republicans are also the kind that they love to do that it's your turn type of thing. John McCain, Mitt Romney.
Right.
You know, it's their turn. They've been in this for a while. They deserve it. Democrats, like you said, they will tend to put up the candidate that's the most electable. And I really believe, and let's remember how much they tried to beg Joe Biden to get into this.
Yeah.
If they could have thrown Hillary Clinton to the side for a Joe Biden, and because we know both of them are lifelong politicians, they both could stake that claim of it's their turn. But I really believe that if they could have thrown someone like a Hillary Clinton aside, that many people believe this was her time, for a Joe Biden who can, just about anybody, it seems, is more likable than Hillary Clinton, mm-hmm. I think they would have gone with Joe Biden in a heartbeat.
They did it with Obama.
Mm-hmm.
She was the leading candidate.
Right.
Oh, okay. 8 years ago, she was the one. Mm-hmm. She was going to be the nominee.
Yeah.
And then they threw her aside real quick with Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you exactly when it happened. When Oprah started backing Obama. I remember it clearly. When Oprah Winfrey started backing Barack Obama, I said the DNC is going to throw her under the bus so fast. And you're absolutely right. Republicans are more inclined to give the due to a candidate who they believe has got it coming to them because of their devotion and time that they spent back in the RNC or whatever, but they don't pick a person that is as electable as the Democrats do. And I think that that's one of the reasons that they lose a lot. Joey from Abbeville has called us. Good morning, Joey. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. I mean, let's face it. They got Hillary with blood on her hands. They got all the evidence in the world, and they're still willing to put her up. Democrats don't care, okay? I mean...
No, I agree completely. They don't care who the candidate is as long as it is a candidate that can win.
Right. And let's remember, you know, they've been indoctrinating. You know, you were talking earlier about the folks that you cater to. That generation of folks has been indoctrinated with tree hugging and, you know, global climate change. And, I mean, let's face it, that generation now, they've got them in the palm of their hand. So they watch MTV and VH1 and BET and all the, you know.
Joey, I'll respectfully correct you on something. I've been catering to that generation, that demographic my whole life, and I'm telling you, they don't watch any of that anymore. All they watch is their phone. That's
Correct.
All they do is stare at their phones, and that's the difference in what you. But I mean, I agree with you on all the other issues.
Yeah. That generation, Town Square Media, that group, you know,
an excellent group, by the way.
Money? Yeah, I agree. But who pays the most money for the ads as far as for buys of time in this campaign season?
Well, I don't
Where's
know.
the money coming from?
Us.
Well, the Democrats load up these media buys to these stations, you know.
So you think the Democrats? So that's an interesting. That's very interesting. I'd like to know who spends more on Town Square.
All the media, the newspapers,
or all the media.
You know,
exactly. I'd like to know what the spending is.
Right.
Very interesting. Thanks for joining us this morning, Joey. Have a good weekend. Deborah from West Monroe. How are you this morning, Deborah?
Good day, beautiful day. I have a prophecy, and my prophecy is Donald Trump will win because the American people have finally awakened. Gitmo will be again filled. Every federal prison will have no vacancy signs hanging outside their buildings. And all these illegals, undocumented, they like to call them, the minute Trump is sworn in or before, they're going to exodus out of this country faster than we can take them out. And it won't cost the American people a dime.
Well, those are pretty aggressive opinions. I can't necessarily, I don't know. If he is elected, many of the things that you said very well may come true. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with the Moon Griffon Show. Good morning, and welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. I am your guest host, Shannon Wilkerson, sitting in for Moon this morning, who's taken the day off to enjoy the beautiful weather. First day of fall. Well, not officially the first day of fall, but the first day of fall weather. Mm-hmm. Nothing like it. We, of course, have been discussing all the strong political issues. We've had a lot of callers this morning with a lot of aggressive, strong opinions that they're sharing. And we've got some callers that have been on hold. Mark from Lafayette, thanks for joining us.
Well, Shannon, thank you for taking my call. I got a quick question about the polls. Everybody I talk to is voting for Trump. I see it all over Facebook. Everybody's voting for Trump. I don't think these polls are correct. Maybe it's just me, but Brandon made a good comment. Whenever Reagan was running, they was picking Jimmy Carter to win by a landslide. The media was picking. So I think Trump has to win. Everybody I'm talking to, they voting for Trump.
Well, I agree with you. Everybody I know is voting for Trump too. I don't know anybody who's voting for Hillary. But I think that where it makes a stronger issue is in these swing states. I mean, Louisiana is projected to be a Trump victory. where the polls, I think, are more significant in regards to projecting the outcome of the election are in these swing states. But I do think that you're right when it comes to they're inaccurate. I don't think that they're completely accurate because I do think a lot of people, not just in Louisiana, but specifically in the swing states, are Trump supporters, do plan on voting for Trump, but won't say so. And they won't say so because they don't want to get the grief. You know, they don't want to be attacked. They don't want to be labeled. They don't want to be harassed online. And they just don't want the headache.
But here's the thing that I wonder, because, hey, in polls, now, again, if you question the validity of the poll, then that's a whole different thing. But if you're looking at the polls and they show Hillary Clinton ahead by whatever percentage point of whatever poll you're looking at, people can be in those polls without expressing an opinion, you know what I'm saying, in the workplace or somewhere else. That is kind of like casting a vote, and that way it can be, you know, nobody knows that you voted for Donald Trump in that poll.
Because it's private.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and you're right, okay? But I'll add a layer to that.
Okay.
I think that people still lie.
Okay.
I think that people still lie because they just are paranoid or they just don't want to say the truth out loud. I don't know.
Right, because well, Shannon, I haven't voted in 28 years. I'm voting this year, buddy. I went because I was from out of town, and I moved to Lafayette about 15 years ago, so I registered again. So I'm voting this year, and I'm voting for Trump. Y'all have a great day.
You too. Have a nice weekend. Pat from Lafayette, been holding on a long time. Pat, how are you?
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Listen,
Good morning.
I just had a question, and I've been watching television and listening to the radio, and I really haven't heard the answer yet. The president and his wife had been flying around the country promoting Hillary Clinton, giving lots of speeches. So my question is, Air Force One and all of the security, which costs millions of dollars to run and support, is that being paid for by the American public?
Yep.
Or is the DNC paying for it so they can promote Hillary Clinton?
I don't believe the DNC is paying for it, and it brings up a subject that I have presented here on this show in the past when I was sitting in for Moon. It's my opinion that the president should serve 1 6-year term, and the reason is because they spend too much time campaigning to get reelected, and then they spend too much time campaigning to get their hopeful replacement elected. I couldn't agree with you more. Who's running the country? When the president is flying all over the place, I don't think the president should have a political opinion publicly on who he or she does or does not endorse. Listen, Barack Obama is everybody's president. You know, and I don't think that I don't think any president should take a political view on an upcoming election. It's up to us.
Well, and the other piece of that, I'm not sure if I'm still on the air, but the other piece of that is a lot of money that me as the public is paying to support a candidate that I don't want. And if it's going to be that they're supporting Hillary Clinton, which they really shouldn't on the public forum, the DNC ought to be paying for it, not us.
Well, I agree with you completely. And if it was a Republican in office, I would say that the RNC should have to do the same. You know,
absolutely,
it's not just because it's a Democrat. Okay.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I don't think the president should be out there campaigning, period. You know, the president needs to be doing the job that we have elected him to do. You know, he needs to be sitting in the Oval Office handling the business of our country instead of flying around the country campaigning for anybody. And I would say the same thing for a Republican. Thank you very much for your call this morning. Charles from DeRidder, thanks for joining us this morning. What's up?
Okay, I'm just going to give you an example of voter fraud. Personally happening to me and my wife. We moved here. Pardon me?
Oh, no, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, we moved here from Oklahoma just a very few years ago and immediately registered to vote here in Louisiana, and we did vote here in Louisiana. And then during the last election, when we went down to vote, my wife wasn't able to vote because back in Oklahoma.
Wow.
And so when Trump brought up this voter fraud thing, all the liberal media is trying to make it look like it doesn't really happen, and I am giving a personal testimony of knowing it happened.
Well, you're the first person that I've talked to that has experienced it personally.
Oh, really?
I hear about it. You know, you hear about people in the news, and you know, you read about stories in the paper and online and whatnot. But you're the first person that I have ever spoken to that has experienced it himself, and that's very interesting.
And it did happen after we had already voted here at one time here, and then the next election, her vote was totally lost because for governor of Louisiana was totally lost because she wasn't able to vote because she had just recently under her name somebody had voted under her name in Oklahoma. So it does happen.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you very much for your call this morning, Charles. Joe from Pineville. How are you this morning?
Just fine. Thank you very much. I want to just not talk about the president, but I want to talk about the House and the Senate. We hear these people advertising, elect me, elect me. Once they get there, they do nothing. The House has the purse strings.
Pardon me?
The House. Am I on?
Okay, yeah. I think I was losing you for a moment. Please continue.
I'm sorry. The House has the purse strings, and they have done nothing. The Senate has a majority, and they've been out-politicked from the word go. Once they get their self straight and have a program, they can stop about 50% of what any president does, but they don't have the ability.
No, I'll tell you my opinion on that. I agree with you completely. And my opinion is that I think that they're just so gun shy and they're all just want to get reelected. They just want to protect their seat and to go up against, to create that much havoc, in their opinion, is to put their jobs on the line, and they would rather get reelected than to get anything done. So, listen, thank you for calling, Joe. We're running out of time. I want to get to Jim. Jim is on the road. How are you this morning, Jim? Jim? Jim is gone. That's okay. We've just got a few more minutes left. If you have time to call in at the Hickson hotline, that is, wait, I've got it here somewhere. I wrote it down. It is 1-844-7-MOON-07. That's the Hickson hotline. We've got Heath from Shreveport. Good morning, Heath. I'm losing it.
Hey, man, I just wanted to echo what you were saying about how the Democrats put up who is electable rather than who's next in line. I mean, I would like, it's obvious that Hillary Clinton, America wasn't ready to elect a woman in 2008, but they saw that a charismatic black man was more electable. Now, in 2016, they feel that a woman is ready to be president, and I predict that in the next 4 to 8 years, they will continue to play the liberal strings in America, and we will see a homosexual or a transgender man or woman be put up as a nominee.
It's coming sooner or later.
It's
coming sooner or later, Heath. Yes,
sir.
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm saying that
I'm not either.
Yeah, no, it's coming. It's coming sooner or later. It might not even be for another 20 years, but sooner or later that will be definitely a candidate running. And I don't know. I don't have an opinion. I guess I don't care. I really don't care. As long as they get the job done, I don't care what their sexual orientation is. I don't care what their gender is. I don't care what their race is. And I think that that's the opinion that everybody should have. But I want to have people in there that's going to get the job done.
But what it is, it just makes it obvious that the DNC just plays on the emotions of the American people rather than who should do the job. They just put up who can be elected to do the job.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have in politics right now. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I had a great time sitting in for the Moon Griffon Show. I'm Shannon Wilkerson, and I hope everybody has a wonderful, beautiful weekend and enjoy the weather.